Well, hello everyone, and today we are starting our wonderful journey to the book of Mr. Tolle, The Power of Now. I'm sure you know that millions of books exist, and all of them have different purpose, right? But I want to talk about books that can change the life of people, that can transform their lives and make their lives happier and fulfilled. And I want to talk about books which were written, this is very important, by the best minds of the people that are now and that have been ever in our world. So I want to talk about books that transform the human lives, like Bible or any other great books. Like how I mentioned, the 7 Habits, and this book can be put next to the Bible. What I want to mention that the power of now is a completely different set of minds and different point of view, look at the world. I really want that you would keep it in mind. And do you know why? Because I've seen in the reviews a photo when one man put this book into the garbage can. Do you know, this is, if you don't understand the book, it doesn't mean that it's a junk. And in fact, in order to understand wisdom, you need to be wise. So I want to repeat again, in order to understand wisdom, you need to be wise. So we are all on different levels. So if we don't understand something, it doesn't mean again that it's garbage. But let's keep in mind, if we don't understand something, we will. This is a beautiful, beautiful book. And how I tell that this book is not only to read and understand and enjoy, this book also needs to be practiced. Let me ask you a question. What is the most difficult thing in the world? It's a tricky question. I warn you right away. What is the most difficult thing in the world?
Patience can be
Good,
difficult.
you are on the right track. Yes. What else?
Honesty.
Beautiful, beautiful. So
humility.
yes, you are right, but there is even much more difficult thing.
Self-actualization.
There you go.
I can say something.
Yes, even closer, Douglas. What else?
Can I say?
Yes, Ben?
I think the most difficult for me, I'm not saying for others because I don't know others. For me is be able to be happy without the expense of others and without my own expense.
Good. So, and what does it include?
Everything.
Yes, and if you don't have it, I don't mean you. If
No.
somebody else doesn't have it.
No, I think because every one of us make the whole world.
Right.
And we create the world. We create the mechanism in order to satisfy happiness. But I don't want that happiness. Why? Because it's the happiness of the world. I don't want, because there is a cost when somebody has to satisfy me, my happiness on the cost of others, without the complete honesty of accepting the, in other words, it's not a trade-off. It's not a trade-off. Without a trade, I don't have to do something for somebody else give me something I want.
I see what you mean, Ben, and you are right.
And I think for me, it's wrong happiness. It's no happiness. I don't want to be happy that way. I just don't want happiness that costs to me and to others.
Thank
And
you.
I think we all want to be happy. Unfortunately, they have sold us in the bag comes unhappiness, and you have to be happy. In other words, you're unhappy, that's why you're looking for happiness. But I don't want to look for happiness. Because again, it's the same concept. If I have to do something for my happiness, somebody else have to do something for me. I don't want nothing from nobody.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you.
Thank you.
for
I'm
the-
sorry to take a little bit time for that, but I think it's a very, very problematic situation that human beings are in.
And absolutely, you're at the right place. We will discuss everything what you said. To summarize what you said, whatever person doesn't have something and he wants something or she wants something, she or he needs to change yourself. And this is one of the most difficult thing in the world, change yourself. So everyone who was saying absolutely right thing. But this is more deeper. It's everybody knows that. Change yourself. If you want to change the world, you will change yourself, right? Everybody knows that. But first, to change yourself, we need to find what to change. In yourself, I mean. It might be surprising to hear to you, or you might actually have heard it many, many times. But probably you could think, no, it's not about me. I don't need to change anything in me. I know it's my spouse. What if she or he would change that? Oh, the life would be so better. Or probably it's my mom. Yeah, if she would change her behavior, like I would be completely happy. Almost everyone thinks this way. And not because we are bad or because we are so judgmental. We seriously don't see it in ourselves. This is why, again, that old proverb, I'm sorry to repeating you, but we don't see a piece of log in our eye, but we see a speck of dust in somebody else's eyes, right?
Well, there's a real, the thing for that whole thing is that we think about ourselves first, okay? And maybe that's one of all the things that I have read and everything, and all the studies I've done, is that we should be thinking opposite of ourselves, of how do we help the other human being out there, okay? What do we do for that other person? And you see the happiness will come to you, but don't worry about your own happiness. If you make somebody else happy, you get happier.
Beautiful, Douglas. Yes, you are digging right away deep as a philosopher person. Yes. So let's go ahead. And what I want to ask you to, when we will study it, just think about yourself. Don't think about somebody else. Don't think, yes, I know she should do it or he should do it. Because how ancient said, we see a reflection of ourselves in everywhere. Just please keep it in mind. Так. Mr. Tolle, starting with this, you are here to enable the divine purpose of the universe to unfold. That is how important you are. Wow. It's so different from many religions, from some spirituality. You are a divine. When did we hear that the last time? And this, you are how you are important. So, and this we will unfold word by word, sentence by sentence. How do you understand enlightenment? Because this book is spiritual enlightenment. And for me, it was kind of unknown word. And when I unsuccessfully many times attempt to listen and read the Mr. Tolle, I kind of was confused. How do you understand what does mean enlightenment means? To you, you don't need definition. What does it mean to you, enlightenment? Just describe in your own words. It's extremely important.
Come to a realization, perhaps.
Yes, yes.
Come to self-actualization, but to describe it was like you come to a realization.
A realization of what?
An epiphany, to use a big word.
The
Right.
epiphany a little bit, yes, too much, but realization I like. But realization of what? How to cook dinner or how to drive a car? Realization of what?
To really look within who you are, I guess, or
Yes.
to really past, your ego and materialistic, to really, come to the realization, I guess, what is.
I agree. Thank you. Ben?
I think it's the realization of your consciousness that you create action. I mean, you're creating your world, you're creating your suffering. And by creating your suffering, you realize that it's like, and then that's the beginning.
Good answer. Violeta?
The acceptance of who you are.
Nice idea. Agree. Richard?
The word that came to mind and that's in your PowerPoint here is the word purpose. So the realization of your purpose and maybe the purpose of everything else.
Exactly. Very, very thoughtful, Aiden. Thank you, guys. What I would answer, and from myself, you are enriched already. So the definition of that, it just freed. So freed from ignorance.
Well, take responsibility. Take responsibility for yourself.
Right, Douglas, right. So freed from ignorance and misinformation. It's what we will do. And for me, enlightenment is coming from some intense meditation or just some circumstances, and you begin to understand how the whole universe is working and where is your place. So what a beautiful thing to do. I think it should be the goal of anybody's life, to understand who we are, why we are here, and how is it working. Okay, and let's try to with some. So this is, we will start the introduction. We will listen just 6 minutes. We won't listen everything. Then we will discuss if you will find some interesting points. Then I will quickly say the rest, and we will start to listen right away from the questions.
I have little use for the past and rarely think about it. However, I would briefly like to tell you how I came to be a spiritual teacher and how this book came into existence. Until my 30th year, I lived in a state of almost continuous anxiety, interspersed with periods of suicidal depression. It feels now as if I'm talking about some past lifetime or somebody else's life. One night, not long after my 29th birthday, I woke up in the early hours with a feeling of absolute dread. I had woken up with such a feeling many times before, But this time it was more intense than it had ever been. The silence of the night, the vague outlines of the furniture in the dark room, the distant noise of a passing train, everything felt so alien, so hostile, and so utterly meaningless that it created in me a deep loathing of the world. The most loathsome thing of all, however, was my own existence. What was the point in continuing to live with this burden of misery? Why carry on with this continuous struggle? I could feel that a deep longing for annihilation, for non-existence, was now becoming much stronger than the instinctive desire to continue to live. I cannot live with myself any longer. This was a thought that kept repeating itself in my mind. Then suddenly I became aware of what a peculiar thought it was. Am I one or two? If I cannot live with myself, there must be two of me, the I and the self that I cannot live with. Maybe, I thought, only one of them is real. I was so stunned by this strange realization that my mind stopped. I was fully conscious, but there were no more thoughts. Then I felt drawn into what seemed like a vortex of energy. It was a slow movement at first and then accelerated. I was gripped by an intense fear and my body started to shake. I heard the words, "Resist nothing," as if spoken inside my chest. I could feel myself being sucked into a void. It felt as if the void was inside myself rather than outside. Suddenly, there was no more fear, and I let myself fall into that void. I have no recollection of what happened after that. I was awakened by the chirping of a bird outside the window. I had never heard such a sound before. My eyes were still closed, and I saw the image of a precious diamond. Yes, if a diamond could make a sound, this is what it would be like. I opened my eyes. The first light of dawn was filtering through the curtains. Without any thought, I knew that there's infinitely more to light than we realize. That soft luminosity filtering through the curtains was love itself. Tears came into my eyes. I got up and walked around the room. I recognized the room, and yet I knew that I had never truly seen it before. Everything was fresh and pristine, as if it had just come into existence. I picked up things, a pencil, an empty bottle, marveling at the beauty and aliveness of it all. That day I walked around the city in utter amazement at the miracle of life on earth, as if I had just been born into this world. For the next 5 months, I lived in a state of uninterrupted deep peace and bliss. After that, it diminished somewhat in intensity, or perhaps it just seemed to because it became my natural state. I could still function in the world, although I realized that nothing I ever did could possibly add anything to what I already had. I knew, of course, that something profoundly significant had happened to me, but I didn't understand it at all. It wasn't until several years later, after I had read spiritual texts and spent time with spiritual teachers, that I realized that what everybody was looking for had already happened to me. I understood that the intense pressure of suffering that night must have forced my consciousness to withdraw from its identification with the unhappy and deeply fearful self, which is ultimately a fiction of the mind. This withdrawal must have been so complete that this false suffering self immediately collapsed, just as if a plug had been pulled out of an inflatable toy. What was left then was my true nature as the ever-present I am. Consciousness in its pure state, prior to identification with form. Later, I also learned to go into that inner timeless and deathless realm that I had originally perceived as a void and remained fully conscious. I dwelt in states of such indescribable bliss and sacredness that even the original experience I just described pales in comparison. A time came when, for a while, I was left with nothing on the physical plane. I had no relationships, no job, no home, no socially defined identity. I spent almost 2 years sitting on park benches in a state of the most intense joy. But even the most beautiful experiences come and go. More fundamental, perhaps, than any experience is the undercurrent of peace that has never left me since then. Sometimes it is very strong, almost palpable, and others can feel it too. At other times, it is somewhere in the background, like a distant melody. Later, people would occasionally come up to me and say, "I want what you have. Can you give it to me or show me how to get it?" And I would say, "You have it already. You just can't feel it because your mind is making too much noise." That answer later grew into the book that you're listening to now. Before I knew it, I had an external identity again. I had become a spiritual teacher.
Anything but you like it, pull your attention and you want to share.
I guess he was strong enough to arise his inner conscience. Some of us are not. Sometimes we go through negative emotions and it's hard to pull ourselves out of it. To shift our focus to now. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely. How we talk recently, it's one of the hardest thing in the world to change yourself, but switch your mind to the state of enlightenment, it's even more difficult. So you are completely right. But for
Especially
him,
when you're alone. Especially when you're alone.
Go ahead.
No, I said especially when you are alone.
Right, right. He received it actually, in my understanding, accidentally, because he was in a so deep state of depression and unhappiness with himself that he actually wanted to make a suicide. And after that, the shift in his mind came. Yes, Richard.
The interesting words for me were the separation of the mind and the self. In that one statement where he said, "I cannot live with myself," the words "I" and "self" became pretty evident to him that it was two distinct things that were living within, and so the mind, he just was able to separate it from himself.
Yes, yes, I think it's very interesting. Yes, Ben, please. Hello, Ben.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think it's a nice introduction because it's the beginning and the end. There's a moment that what I see is the mind is fighting the mind. And this fight translates itself into so many different ways. And when you stop the mind fighting, it cannot fight itself. In other words, what you're doing, you're fighting yourself all the time. And by stopping fighting yourself, you realize that that's what you're doing.
Yes.
And then the next thing happens is you release yourself from fighting yourself because you want something.
And how to do that, we will learn with Mr. Tolle. Thank you, Ben. Yes.
Thank you.
Sean, please.
I liked the part where he said, "It's been a long time since I heard that. Since you turned that on, and it tickled me pink." I remember listening to it because I probably listened to more of him than I actually really read. But I remember when I was a lot going on, I would like try to listen to him, zone out. But he said something about his mind's making too much noise, to what's going on.
Yeah.
And I think either in a different book or later on, if you kept listening to him, he'd say something like, well, who is this myself that I can't live with?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like there's two different people, I mean, why can't you live with yourself? I mean, who are you to tell yourself that, like, who are you living with? You or yourself, like there's two dogs and which one are you feeding? The one that's like, the devil, and then there's God, or how's that? The angel, and there's the devil. Which one do you feed and listen to more? The one that drives you crazy and gets you to do things you shouldn't do, or the one that tells you, over there. So that was probably something that really jumped out at me. I remember about him.
Absolutely, Sean. Very nice. Let's come back to this and see. So what caught my attention? Be utter amazed by the miracle of life on earth. What is miracle for you? I was contemplating a little bit on it. Don't be attached right now from Tolly. What is just for you? What for you is a miracle?
Every day I'm alive is a miracle.
Yes, Douglas, it's because you're smart and you're a professor of philosophy, because we are regular people. No, we are looking for some real miracle. But I'm joking, but I completely agree with you. Thank you. Right, Richard, you're smiling. What is miracle for you?
Well, I can't think of anything in particular right now.
Exactly.
The miracle is something that we find that's not within our abilities, but just happens in some way.
Right. Great answer. Great answer.
We missed gratefulness because we're grateful that we're alive. Okay, and every day after I had the accident and everything, I know how things can be, and the whole idea is to realize our gratefulness that we are alive. So I get up in the morning, I say every day, it's great to be alive.
Yes, Douglas, absolutely. Violetta, please.
Miracle is to be alive and to have all 7 senses working, all your hands to have. And humans, if they lose vision, then they appreciate vision. So miracle is to appreciate what you have and that we're alive on this earth with full capability of everything.
Absolutely, guys. We were born. Thank you.
Mhm.
Violetta, something was with your sound and I thought you finished. Did you want to say?
Yeah, I wanted just to add that, we have to be grateful that we can see, we can hear, and not to lose it, to appreciate it.
Beautiful answer. Absolutely. Thank you so much. And all of you were absolutely correct. Everything we are taking for granted, because we were born with this in this world, and we think that it's regular, it's normal, but it's not normal. Can you imagine if we would take care of our digestion? So we eat, and then we need to produce some chemical to digest this type of food, then the other chemical digest this food, then we would be busy with our breathing. We need to remember when we need to breathe in and breathe out, and if we will miss, how it's dangerous for our health. We need to circulate our blood. No, let me stop. We need to grow our hair, and we need to take care of our growth. That's ridiculous. We wouldn't be able to handle that. Guys, this is already a miracle. Everything is automatically. Okay, then do you know how's about sunrise and sunset? For example, a huge group of people should be collected and start sunrise and then do sunset. How's about rain? How's about we need to grow grass, we need to grow vegetables ourselves. They don't grow by themselves. So you understand, and they make circulation of the air, and they create water, don't forget, and then they create gravity, that some of our children would fly into the sky. Guys, everything is a miracle. We are walking miracle. Everything around us is a miracle. No, he will talk much better than me about it. So identification with the unhappy and deeply fearful self, which is ultimately a fiction of the mind. What do you think about this? Can you imagine? Unhappy and fear is fiction of the mind. Violeta, please. Okay. What do you think about it?
This is a perfect world, okay? There's no mistake, okay? That's the first thing we have to look at, okay? The mistakes that happen and the things that go on that we, okay? This is what I was looking at, one of my books, okay? When we look at, you know, that the perfection is things to help us learn, to grow, develop, and so on, okay? And if we didn't have these mistakes and you know, things, they're not mistakes, they're challenges that we have in life. And people don't realize, they'll say to me, oh, this is too hard. I said, not hard, you're looking at it as hard. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes, yes, we are listening to you. Yeah. Thank you, Douglas. Thank you, good point. But I think that he is very right with wording. He didn't say, for example, violence is the fiction of our mind, right? Definitely violence is not a fiction, it's what we are living in. So he said unhappy and fear is a fiction of our mind. And let him to explain it later, but I wanted to put your attention to it because it's extremely important that unhappiness and fear is the fiction of our mind. My true nature as the ever-present I am, consciousness in it, pure state prior to identification with form. This is a little bit can be complicated. My true nature as the ever-present I am. I just want to pull your attention. We can learn to go into that inner, timeless and deathless realm and remain fully conscious. So he doesn't tell that it would be a journey of unconscious and we won't understand what we are doing. It's fully conscious, but at the same time it's timeless and deathless realm, because where our fear is come, usually and normally and mainly, it's coming from the fear of death. And actually he's saying that we are deathless. What is our anxiety is coming from our that we think it's not enough time to do, but actually there is no time. For exactly no time, I can give an example when we are excited, when we are doing something in the moment of doing something excitement for you, time is disappearing. And this is exactly the time which we can create ourselves manually, literally manually, and live in it. Live in perfect present and perfect excitement, and be timeless and deathless. And he said exactly that we have it already. We have it all inside of us. So I want to tell quickly to skip like 15-20 minutes of introduction. But it's important, I cannot just miss it. So what he's saying again, the seed of enlightenment in all of us, and he is dividing his teaching in two levels. And in the first level, we will see what is false in you. Again, see, we are coming back in you, not false, what is false in your spouse, what is false in your friend or your loved one. No, what is false in you. This is very, very important. So we will look through human unconsciousness. It's seriously, we mostly live unconsciously. We just don't know it because in fact, everybody around live like this. How can we know that we are unconscious? We're conscious, we think, we see, we touch, kick me and I will be very conscious, right? But it's not about that unconsciously what he's saying. Common behavioral manifestations. What is that? Conflict, how conflicts are going in relationships. Warfare between tribes or nations. And this is very important. Such knowledge is vital, for unless you learn to recognize the false as not you. What I was needed to highlight this. Let's do it again. When you have a false, is not you. There can be, he even say, it won't be not lasting transformation. And you would always end up being drawn back into illusion and into some form of pain. So you need to understand that it's not you. Then you will tell me, who? It's my neighbor. Who is doing that for me? Mind. Just keep in your mind and remember you're much bigger and better than your mind. What is mind? We talk a lot about it on our 7 habits. Mind, it's just my understanding. He will say different words that the mind is a pure biological machine. Like let's see computers, everybody has computers. Whatever information we put there, we have a path, right? We click my document, Lina, my documents, and then I have my documents and I put it there and it's laying down there. Who we are? We are biological machine, our body biological machine, not you. And in order to support this body, we have a computer and it's our mind, but it's not you. So whatever we put something in our mind, there is a path. And if we put failure, fear, scaredness, our biological machine, not manually, it sees the passes. And whatever it's similar passes, we are asking our mind and our biological machine, here it is, and give us failure, fear, scare, envy. And we think that it's we are thinking, but it's not. And when we disidentify, dissimulate, or how to say, divide us and mind, then we will be able to control mind. But right now, who is controlling? You control your mind or your mind control you? I can tell you that mind controls you. And if you disagree with me, just let's do a little experience. Close your eyes and control your mind and don't think about anything, for example, for 1 minute. Will you be able to do that? Don't spend time right now, you can do it by yourself. And if you cannot control your mind, it means you don't think. It means mind is controlling you. And there is very easy and powerful exercises which we can be in control. But they are easy, but not easy to implement them. We need to practice, and then it will come to us. And next level, how I mentioned, Mr. Tolle is saying 2 levels, and the next level will be a profound transformation of human consciousness. What I like that he's saying, not as a distant future possibility, but available now. And it absolutely doesn't matter who you are and where you are. So he will teach us how to free yourself from enslavement of the mind. We are so proud of our mind, but this is what was happening. Enter into this enlightenment state of consciousness and sustain it every day. Any questions? And we will start to listen. Okay.
Chapter 1. You are not your mind.
Enlightenment. What is that? A beggar had been sitting by the side of a road for over 30 years. One day a stranger walked by. "Spare some change," mumbled the beggar, mechanically holding out his old baseball cap. "I have nothing to give you," said the stranger. Then he asked, "What's that you're sitting on?" "Nothing," replied the beggar, "just an old box. I've been sitting on it for as long as I can remember." "Ever looked inside?" asked the stranger. "No," said the beggar. "What's the point? There's nothing in there." "Have a look inside," insisted the stranger. The beggar managed to pry open the lid. With astonishment, disbelief, and elation, he saw that the box was filled with gold. "I am that stranger who has nothing to give you and who is telling you to look inside. Not inside any box as in the parable, but somewhere even closer, inside yourself." "But I'm not a beggar," I can hear you say. Those who have not found their true wealth, which is the radiant joy of being and the deep, unshakable peace that comes with it, are beggars, even if they have great material wealth. They are looking outside for scraps of pleasure or fulfillment, for validation, security, or love, while they have a treasure within that not only includes all those things, but is infinitely greater than anything the world can offer. The word enlightenment conjures up the idea of some superhuman accomplishment, and the ego likes to keep it that way. But it is simply your natural state of felt oneness with being. It is a state of connectedness with something immeasurable and indestructible, something that, almost paradoxically, is essentially you and yet is much greater than you. It is finding your true nature beyond name and form. The inability to feel this connectedness gives rise to the illusion of separation from yourself and from the world around you. You then perceive yourself, consciously or unconsciously, as an isolated fragment. Fear arises, and conflict within and without becomes the norm. I love the Buddha's simple definition of enlightenment as the end of suffering. There's nothing superhuman in that, is there? Of course, as a definition, it is incomplete. It only tells you what enlightenment is not: no suffering. But what's left when there's no more suffering? The Buddha is silent on that, and his silence implies that you will have to find out for yourself. He uses a negative definition so that the mind cannot make it into something to believe in, or into a superhuman accomplishment, a goal that is impossible for you to attain. Despite this precaution, the majority of Buddhists still believe that enlightenment is for the Buddha, not for them, at least not in this lifetime.
I will leave the text on the screen, that it would be easy for you to find what impressed you. So anybody wants to share the realization or something what pull your attention, or something you disagree, or something you think it's some kind of words which you
I got
disagree.
something I could share, I guess, if you
Yes,
want.
please, Sean.
When it goes to the Buddha and enlightenment to end suffering, part of it, I think, was we create our own suffering. Is what that message comes from the Buddha. You know, I think in Catholicism with like the 7 sins, one of it is like wanting, was it? Or lust, which kind of, you know, is kind of part of it too. I think it's the same thing, you know. We drive ourselves crazy sometimes with wanting the wrong thing, and our thoughts are in the wrong spot. And, you know, especially if we're younger, we're worried more about our haircut and how we look, and if we're going to get those shoes. If we don't, then we're miserable. When there's just so much more to that, you know. And then when you get that, you could still probably still be miserable. But I think that's what they say about form and all of that. So that's what I got out of it.
Yes, Sean, thank you so much. Violetta, please.
Can you come back to the first page, please? Yes, there's a saying said, but I'm not a beggar. It's very interesting because it made me think right away. Everybody has the gift of being whatever they want to be and what they want to have. It's just they are looking in the wrong places where they should look within themselves first, and then, you know, everything will come. But I think everybody's looking in the wrong places outside of themselves to gain something what they want.
Yes, very, very good realization. Thank you.
We are.
Anybody
We forget
else?
who we are.
Yes, Douglas?
We forget who we are. And Ken Keyes Jr. said something, a handbook to higher consciousness. I remember the last couple, before he passed away, a couple of weeks, I was doing a report. And he said, I asked him, what's the most important thing you get out of this whole thing? He said, unconditional love. Now go out and practice it.
Yes, yes.
Love is the most important thing.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you very much, Douglas.
But like you said about on the first page that Violetta went to on he's sitting in the box, and did you ever look inside the box? And he looks inside the box and there's gold, you know. So I guess it's like, did you ever look inside yourself? You probably already have it. Have everything.
Yes, yes, Sean. Exactly.
You're not actually you're sleeping on a bench because you tell yourself this is who you are, when that's not. That's like you not being able to live with yourself.
Exactly. Richard, please.
Well, the idea of the word enlightenment for many people, like he says here, conjures the idea of some superhuman accomplishment, and he's going to tell us that it's not so. And in that case, it becomes more obtainable for all of us, and it's much less or more, I believe, simplistic than what many people think the word enlightenment really means.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, thank you, Richard. Good adding. Ben, please.
Yeah, I think it's again, it's kind of awareness, trying to get aware of itself. And I think that's the evolutionary aspect of the mind. In other words, the liver is not aware of itself, but it does its function. Every organ, and the mind is an organ. Unfortunately, any organ can be used. The thinking itself is the use of the organ itself. And the thinking becomes the problem of what you think. There's no thinking, it's what you think. And because you need the organ to think. So we are a thinking world. We live in a thinking world. But it's what you think creates the world, your world, and the world around you. You know, it's the way you think about something, it's part of the problem. but also part of the solution. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ben. You, as always, adding very good. But something from the text, what we listened, pull your attention.
It doesn't work from an intellectual level, it works from an emotional level.
Okay. Okay, thank you, guys. What personally me full attention, and I highlighted. Next time I won't do, I forgot to remove it. I don't want to, that it would distract you. So that people, those who have not found their true wealth are beggars. So if we didn't find that wealth and happiness inside of us, we are beggars. So, but do not, we don't need to feel bad about it. It's a misconception, misunderstanding, and we are here exactly to stop to be beggar and find the wealth from within. So, and let's listen at the next.
You used the word being. Can you explain what you mean by that? Being is the eternal, ever-present one life beyond the myriad forms of life that are subject to birth and death. However, being is not only beyond, but also deep within every form, as its innermost, invisible and indestructible essence. This means that it is accessible to you now as your own deepest self, your true nature. But don't seek to grasp it with your mind. Don't try to understand it. You can know it only when the mind is still. When you are present, when your attention is fully and intensely in the now, being can be felt, but it can never be understood mentally. To regain awareness of being and to abide in that state of feeling realization is enlightenment.
What are your thoughts? It's actually kind of profound. For me, I listen it and then I look again with my eyes on the text. And he actually, in the next, he will explain more about it. But what I want to say that this is a big meaning. Don't try to grasp it with your mind. We are using our mind all the time. And I really want to share with you that I feel it. I already feel it as something bigger and beyond my mind. And I feel it with my inner self. I don't know what it is, my inner self or my being or I am. I think it's all the same, but it's what he's saying, it's the truth. Just follow what he is saying without judgment, without trying to understand. And I'm sure we all will come to the wonderful journey. Just at least be open for something new. We lose nothing. If it won't work, won't work. But if we will try to say something like this, no, I know what I'm doing. I was doing it for 50 years. Don't teach me. I will try to my way. We will continue our way, right? Let's try some other person who is actually considered as the greatest mind of now. Let's try his way and see what's happened. Because if we need to get something, we need to follow someone who get results. If somebody get results, just do whatever that person did. Everything, step by step, thought by thought. And the same success is guaranteed. But usually we are doing, no, I know what I'm doing. And we are ended up on our own ways. So let's listen the next.
When you say being, are you talking about God? If you are, then why don't you say it? The word God has become empty of meaning through thousands of years of misuse. I use it sometimes, but I do so sparingly. By misuse, I mean that people who have never even glimpsed the realm of the sacred, the infinite vastness behind that word, use it with great conviction, as if they knew what they are talking about. Or they argue against it, as if they knew what it is that they are denying. This misuse gives rise to absurd beliefs, assertions, and egoic delusions such as, my or our God is the only true God, and your God is false, or Nietzsche's famous statement, God is dead. The word God has become a closed concept. The moment the word is uttered, a mental image is created, no longer perhaps of an old man with a white beard, but still a mental representation of someone or something outside you. And yes, almost inevitably, a male someone or something. Neither God nor being nor any other word can define or explain the ineffable reality behind that word. So the only important question is whether the word is a help or a hindrance in enabling you to experience that toward which it points. Does it point beyond itself to that transcendental reality, or does it lend itself too easily to becoming no more than an idea in your head that you believe in, a mental idol? The word being explains nothing, but nor does God. Being, however, has the advantage that it is an open concept. It does not reduce the infinite invisible to a finite entity. It is impossible to form a mental image of it. Nobody can claim exclusive possession of being. It is your very essence, and it is immediately accessible to you as the feeling of your own presence, the realization, I am, that is prior to I am this or I am that. So it is only a small step from the word being to the experience of being.
Anything anybody wants to share? This is actually his.
I think it goes to that saying with that statue. I think, therefore I am. I think it's the same thing, to just be. That's how you realize that you just are energy here on earth, other than who we look and what we are and what we want and what's going on. That's, trying to keep our head on straight.
Okay, Sean, yes.
Focus on like a certain energy, like that you're plugged into the world or the universe.
Yes,
Just
yes.
be.
I see your point. Yeah. Richard, please. Any page you want, I will switch. Let me know.
So the word being and trying to grasp all that's being said with what I see is the word being used as a noun or as a verb. So being can be like a supernatural being, or we can be in the state of being. I think you made a good point as to how to differentiate those two.
I differentiate what? I just want to get your insight.
The noun versus the verb of the word use of the word being.
Okay, yes. Anybody else?
But isn't mind also a part of the being? Because I think they kind of, yes, he says that you know, could it be another, something inside that's fighting with each other, like someone said? But I mean, mind, body, spirit, aren't they all kind of interconnected?
Yeah, good question. And I can answer what I understand. So this is not can be the right answer. I just want to always remind you guys, I'm just an organizer and we will discuss together. But from all my studying in this book particular, I understood that being is beyond the mind and beyond the body. And even I am who I am originally, who I am everlasting and timeless, I am beyond the mind. So this is, if we will realize that we are beyond, then only after we will be able to control our mind. Because again, mind is a biological machine in order to support our biological body. But we are not body. And we are not our mind. Did I answer your question, Sajata?
Superb.
Huh?
It was superb. Yes.
Thank you so much. Ben, please.
Well, I think I was listening to everybody, and that's what I'm saying right now is beyond the now itself. In other words, if there is somebody that exists and what you think about who you exist, I mean, the way you exist through your body and through your mind, in the now, the being is beyond the now itself. In other words, consciousness is beyond what you think consciousness is, and it's beyond how you think about it. So the only way to release is releasing yourself from yourself and from others, to be able to just accept everything automatically. Automatically, you do everything. In other words, you have habits. All your life is full of habits. It's full of repetitions. And everything you do, most of the time, you don't think about it. You don't have to think about it. And not thinking about it actually releases you from thinking about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. I see your point, and we will discuss it in the future. I don't want to dig so much because actually there is beyond, we are even beyond consciousness. We need to go into the state of pure awareness. Because as body appeared, mind appeared, and consciousness appeared. But we are even beyond consciousness. But thank you so much for your adding. So for me, what this maybe it's old question, but I really want to point the attention. I still have some people, and I hear that who are arguing about that my God is right because God is only one. Really, I'm so surprised that in our time we can even argue about it. God is one, and there's millions of ways to go to God, and it can be through many religions, many philosophies. It doesn't matter. It's like to one point we can drive many different cars, and even we can drive with the bicycle, right? Or even we can walk. We still will come to that point. Somebody come early, somebody can less. So this is see the methods are different, but God is one. But there is no such a thing that my way is right or your way is wrong. No, all ways are right. They are just different efficiency. And this strike my attention, and that no more than an idea in your head that you believe in a mental idol. So God, unfortunately, right now become a close concept and our mental idol. And I'm also studying Maharaj, and he's actually said, stop believing, stop imagining, just be, and all your suffering will disappear. So we are creating our images, we are imagining, and we are attached to those imagining, we are attached to those mental idols, and we are suffering ourselves. This is why next to me can be completely different girl, and you know, in one family, two sisters, two even twins, one can be happy and the other can be unhappy, but they have absolutely the same parents and absolutely the same treatment. So why? It's all here. And let's continue to the next question. If, for example, some thought will come into your mind and you want to add, please don't hesitate and raise your hand.
What is the greatest obstacle to experiencing this reality? Identification with your mind, which causes thought to become compulsive. Not to be able to stop thinking is a dreadful affliction, but we don't realize this because almost everybody is suffering from it, so it is considered normal. This incessant mental noise prevents you from finding that realm of inner stillness that is inseparable from being. It also creates a false, mind-made self that casts a shadow of fear and suffering. We will look at all that in more detail later. The philosopher Descartes believed that he had found the most fundamental truth when he made his famous statement, "I think, therefore I am." He had, in fact, given expression to the most basic error, to equate thinking with being and identity with thinking. The compulsive thinker, which means almost everyone, lives in a state of apparent separateness, in an insanely complex world of continuous problems and conflict, a world that reflects the ever-increasing fragmentation of the mind. Enlightenment is a state of wholeness, of being at one, and therefore at peace. At one with life in its manifested aspect, the world, as well as with your deepest self and life unmanifested. At one with being. Enlightenment is not only the end of suffering and of continuous conflict within and without, but also the end of the dreadful enslavement to incessant thinking. What an incredible liberation this is. Identification with your mind creates an opaque screen of concepts, labels, images, words, judgments, and definitions that blocks all true relationship. It comes between you and yourself, between you and your fellow man and woman, between you and nature, between you and God. It is this screen of thought that creates the illusion of separateness, the illusion that there's you and a totally separate other. You then forget the essential fact that underneath the level of physical appearances and separate forms, you are one with all that is. By forget, I mean that you can no longer feel this oneness as self-evident reality. You may believe it to be true, but you no longer know it to be true. The belief may be comforting. Only through your own experience, however, does it become liberating. Thinking has become a disease. Disease happens when things get out of balance. For example, there's nothing wrong with cells dividing and multiplying in the body. But when this process continues in disregard of the total organism, cells proliferate and we have disease. The mind is a superb instrument if used rightly. Used wrongly, however, it becomes very destructive. To put it more accurately, it is not so much that you use your mind wrongly, You usually don't use it at all. It uses you. This is the disease. You believe that you are your mind. This is the delusion. The instrument has taken you over.
This is so profound that actually can be long discussed. This would be our last question. Please share your opinions. Yes, Richard, please.
I guess the one thought that'll stick with me, at least for a little while, is that the mind is a tool and it's not us.
Yeah, absolutely. Violeta, please.
I agree with Richard that what we think we become, that even the study has been done when there's a water, they put the water and they played the music, and where there was nice music, they freeze the water was beautiful, and then the water with very destructive music, the pictures in the frozen water were very not pretty, and we are 70% the water. If we say we're happy, I'm happy, you will become happy, but if you're sad and mad, you'll be that.
Yeah, beautiful lady. Agree, Violeta. Thank you so much. Ben, please.
Yeah, I like the word self,
Mhm.
and in other words, I like sustainment, like sustainable, and it's a recipe for hell. Why? Because it won't be able to die. Anything that cannot die it goes through perpetual existence. And if there is a hell, it's perpetual existence.
Mhm.
So this energy or effort to maintain something perpetually and not let it die when it's supposed to die. And most of the time, if you look at empires, civilizations, all of them die eventually because people get tired. They get tired. Any relationship that overwhelms either one or either situation you're in is because or you're trying to other people to do your bidding, or you don't want that from other people. And then you put yourself in that acceptance or non-acceptance. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you for your aiding. Let me share with you what strikes me. First, that enlightenment is a state of wholeness, of being at one. I unfortunately don't have time, but if you agree, just 5 minutes, we will stay a little bit longer. Right now it's 12:30. Can we stay like five minutes more? Because this is toward that, and I cannot don't share. So how I see the world, if we look at our bodies, we have cells. And all our cells are my cells, and all our cells should work in harmony. What if my cell, a cell of my nose will decide I don't want to do anything? It will be a problem. So, and if we imagine that God is the whole universe, and we are a part of God, or we are a cell of a God. This is why we are all different. The cell of my heel is much different than the cell of my brain, for example, right? But I love all of them the same. So we are different. Animals are part of God. Maybe they are his finger. Maybe we are a cell of a brain. Let's think about us this way. Maybe plants are their hair. Right? This is what doesn't mean that we need to think as a whole. And we will live forever as long as God will live. And God is the whole universe. This is why God cannot come to us. Can we come to cells? For example, the two cells somehow will start to talk and start imagining something about what kind of our God, what do you think? And cells, one cell. Do you know, I think they are working all the time, my heel cell. Cell of I. No, it's they are all the time, she's only looking. Do you see the different perspective? But in one cell right, and the other cell is right as well. So what they need to do, they are taking care of me and I'm taking care of them, right? So if we will take care of everything and look around us like we are part and they are the same, like we are only different importance, but we are all equal. This is how I see be at one. This is why we think that he was talking also about separation. Separation creates anxiety and fearful, right? Why? Because we think I am responsible for myself. Yes, we are responsible for ourselves, but we are responsible for our bodies. We are responsible to keep our mind, but we are not our body. Body was born and body will die. We are much more than that. We are a piece of consciousness of God. And from this body, we will be something else, which we don't know. And if you go inside, don't try to understand with your mind. Go inside and ask yourself, am I ever will die? And you will say, no. And this is the right thing to think. Yes, we are never die. And one guy told me, so it's so unfair that I feel so young inside and I will die someday. No, this is the memory that we won't die. Our body will die. Then what strike me, okay, what this thinking has become a disease. And we will work on it a lot. So when we will be with now, we will be not only happier, but we will be even more successfully. Why? Because do you know, when we are talking and we are in some future or in some past, we are actually missing to talk exactly and precisely toward the conversation. We are missing and we don't understand what the people are asking or doing. And actually we are ourselves in someplace else. So it's not only for happiness, it's actually for success of us as well. So he is talking about so these two paragraphs for me is terrific. And he doesn't say we don't need to go into extreme and say, oh, our mind is bad. Let's get rid of it. No, it's a superb. It's a perfect, it's a wonderful, superb instrument, but we just need to use it rightly. And please remember to make the exercise. Try to do it home. Just close your eyes and think, can you control your mind? Who is controlling the situation? And if and see when the first thought will come. It will be probably around maybe a couple of seconds. Or maybe if 1 minute you are a superb already. Okay, guys, I would finish for today. Unfortunately, we didn't come to the homework, and it's actually very, very soon will be. But I want to give you homework. So first, try to do that exercise to figure out that you would be sure that our minds are controlling us. So if when we will able to control our mind, we will sit and we will tell our mind, keep silence, I'm resting, and mind is, see, my senior. But unfortunately, you won't hear that, and your mind will go on and on and on. What? So the first exercise, and I will post on our chat board, who will sign up, we can do the first step right now. Start listening the voices in your head as often as you can. This is exercise we should have to start. And try to pay attention to any repetitive thoughts pattern. And they are playing like old gramophone record, right, in your head. And sometimes Mr. Tolle is saying during many years. So try to do this. Start for the week, start to watch, to pay attention to your thoughts. Just be aware of them and what is coming into your head, because we are living this way and never even thought about it. Thank you so much. Anyone wants to say something, or?
Do you have a follow-up session on this book?
So, Shangita, we will be together maybe for 20-25 meetings every Monday, and we will continue to discuss. Also, we have, I will create WhatsApp or Skype group chat, and I will post this presentation there. I will post homework, and we will talk and chat and ask questions and share opinions. This is the question you asked.
Yes. So would you kindly add my name to the WhatsApp chat as well, please?
Absolutely. Can you write your name in the chat
Yeah.
book?
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Yes. So anybody else? What are you taking with you? And also, do you like this set of our meetings? How we were going, we were listening, we were discussing, we can read. Is it satisfactory to you? Yes, Richard.
I think it works well
like-
because the way he's answering these questions, that when I was listening to the book myself, these questions were also popping up in my head. And here they are, they're asked, and then he goes ahead and answers them.
Wonderful. Thank you, Richard. Sean?
I like the way you're doing it with the tape. That's really good.
Okay, thank you, Douglas.
Yes,
Sean?
I love it too. For my first time, I think I didn't think I would sit this long, but look, here I am. It's interesting.
Thank you. Thank you, Shangita.
Yeah, because I'm looking at self-growth, and this is, I think, an avenue for self-growth as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank
Thank you so much. Violeta? Brian, I don't hear you, Brian. Can you, Violeta, can you turn the sound? Vita, Violeta, you turn the sound. Violeta, your own sound.
Okay,
Yeah.
now done.
It's wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Brian. Very nice to hear you.
Why aren't you here with us, Brian?
There is some issue with the I think with the settings on the Zoom chat. I think there's some issue with the Zoom chat settings, because when I tried to log in, it said that there was you can't log in from Canada for some reason.
Yeah, that's
It
strange.
wasn't the same without you. I had to do most of the talking. No, I'm kidding.
We will work with you, Brian, and we will fix it. Yeah, thank you so much for participating.
He was listening to the whole class.
Thank you, Violeta. Well, guys, I don't want to hold you anymore. I can tell you I tremendously enjoyed our conversation. Thank you so much for your wonderful insights, and I look forward to see you. If somebody wants to come on Monday, this following Monday, April 11th, please welcome. But it will be the same, the initial meeting. And then next following Mondays, we will continue from where we stop right now. Thank you so much and have a wonderful weekend and a wonderful week. Bye-bye.